Hey everyone, hi, it's Sarah. Today I wanted to talk about the concept of donor siblings, or sometimes people use the word dibling, and give some ideas about how to frame that conversation and how to think about that for yourself and for your kids. It's something that I see come up on chat boards a lot, so I thought it was useful to talk about. And I recently went to a training put on by our family coalition, and they have done tons of research and thought about it a ton. So shout out to them. If you have any other questions, definitely check their resources. But this is sort of like a summary of what I took away from what they talked about, as well as some of my own personal experience. So first of all, what I would say is don't use the word dibling or donor sibling until you've kind of, basically the idea is, I'm going to back up for a second, basically the idea is that not everybody loves the term dibling. Like, I think in the single mom by choice world, a lot of people use that word and it gets kind of thrown around as like the standard word. I thought it was the standard word that was sort of accepted, but it turns out there's lots of feelings around having to use a donor, and lots of people who, don't relate to it in the same way that maybe you do. So really the most respectful language is children who share the same donor. So I think if you're making contact with other people, or in your sort of with people who've shared the same donor, that's really the best terminology to use to start with, rather than sort of assuming that sort of sibling or even dibling relationship before you've talked to anyone or met anyone in your cohort. And I will also sort of back up. So a lot of people want to know how to find children who share the same donor. And many sperm banks will have a program where you can exchange anonymous messages with each other, or people who are in your people who've shared the same donor. That may be a way to find people. The other way to do it is to go through the Donor Sibling Registry, which is another amazing organization that was created so people could find each other, people who either find the donor in the days before there was open ID donors, and when there was a lot less there's still no regulation, so I won't use the word regulation, but now there's better kept records and the possibility of an open ID donor. But before there was that, the Donor Sibling Registry was created, and they keep amazing records. You can basically register with them, put in your sperm bank and the number of your donor, and then be able to anonymously communicate with people and even the donor as you desire, and then you can kind of amp up your relationship, give out personal information if you so desire. I know that I registered, and then several of the other families that use the same donor have registered, and we have kind of moved off of the Donor Sibling Registry as a platform, and we have a Facebook group together. So I think that's a fairly common practice. So if you're looking to understand how you would ever find children who shared the same donor as your child, that would be probably the best place to start, or to reach out to your sperm bank and ask them too. So back to kind of terminology and best practices. I think the thing to think about is that everyone uses a donor for a different reason, and there's many different family structures that use donors. So there may be obviously single moms by choice are required to use a donor, lesbian couples, gay couples if maybe required to use an egg donor, and then there's heterosexual couples that are suffering from infertility, and everyone kind of comes. So the way that people language is going to be different. So just kind of recognizing, okay, there's going to be different attitudes based on different people's circumstances. And then I would say look and kind of check yourself when you're thinking about what language to use, whether you have anything you're kind of. I apologize, my internet is kind of doing weird things, so there's little pauses. My son from a very young age has begged me for a sibling, and he's constantly asking if there's a baby in my belly, and can he have a sibling, and please, 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 can I have a sibling? I viewed it as the opportunity to give him that missing sibling that he's always wanted. And so I was really like gung-ho ready to use the term half sibling or dibling or half brother or half sister. And I had to kind of back myself up and realize that, one, he has no idea what in the world half brother, half sibling, or even dibling means. He's only 4. And that using that terminology would probably just confuse him. So I kind of had to like back it up and be like, okay, that's my desire to sort of take away this pain for him that he has around not having a sibling. And I need to wait and let him pick his own ideas about what the language will be later on. The other thing I would say is you avoid the temptation of ascribing labels before you meet the other families. You have a lifetime to get to know each other. So it's better to start really small and then you can always build up. But it's worse to sort of start with, oh, we're family, or we're, using some sort of ideas or terminology that you can't back up. And also realizing that in general, when you have those, if you do meet with people, or even have contact with them on Facebook, take it slow. You got a lot of time to get to know each other. So don't jump in 2 feet first and then want to kind of back it up. What else was I going to say? Keep the relationship light. Let it just evolve on its own. I know that when we were meeting up with a couple half siblings, I was like really wanting my child to understand that this was a really significant play date, and I really wanted him to realize it was not just your average play date. And he just could not take that in, and it was putting way too much on him. So take it light, make it easy. Don't try and make it something that it isn't. Just let it be and let it continue to evolve. People, choose all sorts of different relationships. I know a couple different cohorts of people who use the same donor, and they have like a reunion every week and they spend 1 week together every summer. Others have Facebook groups where they share pictures. Others have no contact at all. And there's always going to be different people within your group, and trying to just respect all of that and allowing there to just be time and space for this relationship to evolve. So I think that's all I really have to say on the matter at this point. I think the main thing is really backing up the terminology, going slow, and trying not to use terminology that your kid just won't understand. Let it evolve. And I think that's it for now. Thanks so much, and thanks for tuning in. And please post any questions or comments you have. I'd love to hear about the way you've structured your relationships, how you've gone about making contact with fellow people who use the same donor, what it's been like for you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Please share in the comments and let us know how it's going. Take care. Bye.